Hey, it's Mike Hambright with FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview some of the most successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. Today, I'm joined by Fernando Ornelas, who's a large rental property owner. He teaches others how to successfully invest in real estate. For most real estate investors, the most critical time is right when you're getting started, getting the confidence to get out of the gate and get your business going. And today we're going to talk about how to be successful, how to get started in real estate investing successfully. Before we get started though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Fernando, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, glad to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. So hey, before we get started here, why don't you tell us about your story a little bit? I know, kind of like me, you're a corporate refugee that realized that there's a better world out there than working for somebody else. But why don't you kind of tell us how you got started in real estate investing and tell us a little bit about what you're doing today?
Sure, definitely, Mike. Well, I actually started off, and I feel very blessed. It was by luck. I started investing when I was really, really young. When I bought my first investment property when I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
This goes back in the late 90s. And I actually partnered up with my uncle. We bought a small little house, and a year later we sold it and made about $28,000 profit.
Okay.
And that's when I was hooked. At the time, I was a college student. I was going to college. And I had a part-time job, trying to obviously get through school. And I realized here I am working part-time, and with real estate, obviously we shared the profit of that transaction, but I made a lot more money with that transaction than working a full year.
Yeah.
That's when I got hooked. It was a combination of that, and also a book that got me really intrigued was Robert Allen's Multiple Streams of Income.
Yeah.
For that. So between that and the transaction is when I got really started. So what I did with that profit is I reinvested it into another property and kind of went from there. But looking back, I was not an expert. I believe it was strictly luck.
Yeah.
It was the market. I was riding the wave. So this goes back in the late 90s, and I rode the wave all the way up until 2008, 2009. So I kept buying property, and it was primarily in my hometown in Los Angeles. And also I branched out into the Arizona market as well, and I bought a couple of properties there outside of Phoenix. But that's how I got started, and then kind of went from there.
Okay. Yeah. And you were a corporate guy too, right? You worked in corporate America.
I was. So after I graduated from college with my undergrad, from there I went into the corporate world, and I moved up the ranks really quickly. But on the side, I was always intrigued with real estate and continued my education, went to seminars, read books throughout the whole time. And I climbed the ladder pretty quickly, and I was actually in charge of, I was working just right below the CEO and the GM of the company, and was in charge of 32 salespeople. Traveled the whole country. I mean, I had a very lucrative position there. They took really good care of me. But I was always inclined towards real estate and kind of, I wanted freedom is what I wanted, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really, really grateful, Mike, that I had the opportunity to work there. I learned a lot. So it came to a point where my travel schedule was really heavy. I would leave every Sunday or Monday, come back Thursday. It was all domestic travel, but it took a toll on me after a couple of years.
Yeah.
I had to travel, go out with the reps. And I knew how to make a change.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of new real estate investors, or those that are interested, start where it sounds like you started, not necessarily buying a property at a young age, but just being, a lot of education, a lot of reading, a lot of books, a lot of seminars, a lot of things like that. But they just never get over that hump. They never make their first deal, or they do, and they do something wrong and then they quit. But talk about, I know we're going to talk about how to get started in real estate investing today, but let's kind of start with how I think a lot of real estate investors are in that situation where they do a lot of reading, they have a lot of books, they've been to a lot of seminars, they do a lot of networking, but they just never get out of the gate. So why do you think that is, and how do they get out of the gate?
Mike, during all of my education in real estate, going to the seminars, going to RI groups, which I went to a ton of them, I noticed one thing that everybody had in common. There was a common denominator that everybody had, and that is you have to have grit. You have to persevere. You have to kind of continue on. And most of them, like myself too, I'm guilty of this too, you get paralyzed by what direction you want to go towards. I think there's a lot of information out there. A lot of times you get caught up with, should I do this side of real estate? Should I go over here to tax lien? What should I do exactly?
Yeah.
I think the first thing you got to do is really pinpoint what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, And for those that want to get started but don't know how, that's where I recommend you first start and sit down and pinpoint, okay, what do I want to do for myself and my family? What do I want to start? What do I want to accomplish?
Yep.
And I go from there.
Yeah, what's interesting about a lot of the seminar, there's a lot of good information out there. Don't take, for any of my guru friends that are listening, don't take this the wrong way. But they always have an agenda as well, right? And so they maybe talk about specific things, but they almost pretend like other opportunities don't exist. And so even for myself, we've by most measures been pretty successful real estate investors. But if I kind of made a list of what I know or what I think I'm good at and what I don't know anything about, the list that I don't know anything about far dominates what I do know, because I've just carved out a really small niche. Mm-hmm. But it's overwhelming to hear all that information for sure.
And for myself, Mike, what I did was back in 2008, 2009, I sat down and I wrote down exactly what do I want to accomplish in real estate. And that is obviously I wanted to create and bring in enough passive income to exceed my expenses. That's when you can declare that you're financially independent.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I sat down and I went out and I created a whole program for myself to be able to do that in a short period of time. But I was just laser focused on that strategy.
Yeah. So your advice for people that are kind of paralyzed by all the information out there is just to start by defining what it is that you want to happen, kind of setting what your goals are.
Right. And I can tell you a little bit about on our education side of the business. A lot of our students, this is really common. They'll come to us and say, you know what, Fernando, I have no money, I have no credit, I have no idea where to start, but I want to buy my first rental. That's the common denominator of all of our students.
Yeah.
So what I always tell them to start off, Mike, is I always tell them to go out and, as you know, this business it's a people business at the end of the day. You can't do everything over the internet or by email. You have to go out and really market yourself.
Yeah.
So I always tell them to start off this way. I say, look, if you want to bring a little bit of money into your pocket, here's what I advise you to do. Go out, especially in the bigger markets, metro areas like where you are and where I am, there's a meeting every single night. Every single night you can go out to a meeting. Go out and just associate yourself with people at the meetings that are actually doing deals. There's only a couple of people, 3 or 4 people that go up, sometimes a little bit more, and they'll go up and they'll announce what they have for sale, what they're selling. Go up to them and just ask them if you can actually sell their deal and just make a couple of $1,000, whatever they pay, a referral fee, or if you can put it on top of whatever their asking price is.
Yeah.
So what I'll tell them to do is just get all the information to that property, the pro forma, put it on your own flyer, go out and market that same property. And it's amazing when you have a deal, Mike, when you go to these meetings and you have a deal, you're like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of flocks to you and says, how did you get this deal? Or people are just interested in that. And it's been very successful, just that little strategy to be able to go out and market someone else's property just under your own name. Just put your name, email address, phone number on the flyer and just market it and make a couple grand. And then what will happen is once you call that actual wholesaler that you paired up with, they will start sending you more deals that you can market, that they actually can send you so you can market their property.
Yeah.
You know?
And in my experience, the last couple of years, what you're referring to is typically called co-wholesaling. They have other people that are marketing your deal. That seems to be is much more common. I think a lot of real estate investors in the past have not really wanted to do that because they're like, well, I don't need your help. I have my list. I can sell it myself. But people start to realize that no matter how big your list is, you don't have everybody. And there's always other people out there that that could be potential buyers for you. So I think that kind of cooperative deal of wholesaling is becoming more and more common these days.
Yeah, Mike, and you know that in this business, you can't do it alone.
No, for sure. Yeah.
If you have a team in place and you have, you know, like you said, co-wholesalers or business partners, you get there, wherever you want to get to, you get there that much quicker.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's been worked out marvelous for a lot of our students.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then what they'll do is, you know, they'll sell 3, 4, 5 deals and, you know, make 10, 15 grand. And it'll be just enough to get their first property, you know, put a down payment on the property and get going that way on that. But, you know, it's like everybody talks about, I'm sure you heard about it before, it's getting that first deal.
Yeah.
Once you get the first deal, your confidence level goes up and you kind of go from there.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that is the biggest hurdle of getting started in this business is confidence. Just knowing that you're not going to lose your shirt or get hurt or anything like that. And not that you could ever know that with certainty, but after you do a couple of deals, then your confidence level just goes through the roof from where it was. And you start to, the learning curve is so steep. You just go like this, and then it's like, oh, this really isn't that hard. To where you get faced with stuff, even I, after, you know, buying hundreds of properties, I get faced with new things all the time that have never happened to me. But I can make decisions on what I'm going to do very quickly just because I'm confident that there's a solution there. Just have to decide.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I would recommend to get started. And I've always looked at this business in this fashion, Mike, is you're always one relationship away from having your business explode. Because if you meet that right person, you know, that can refer you to somebody else, you just never know.
Yeah.
You know, you can be just one person away from having your business explode.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
And so you always have to look at it that way and just go out and really market yourself.
Yeah. And what you're talking about is with, you know, basically finding other people that are sellers that have a property that you can sell for them. In the process, you're meeting other buyers that you may have a relationship with down the line. Talk a little bit about just the importance of just general networking, of going to, you know, RIA clubs and events to help build your confidence and build your knowledge and kind of surround yourself with other people that are active in your market.
Sure. You know, we have a lot of students that will come to us, and like you mentioned earlier, it's funny, you talked about how this business is not that complicated, Mike, and you and I can both agree on that. But students will come to us and say, this business is extremely difficult. A lot of times, the first thing I always ask them is, why do you say that? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I have a couple of friends of mine that have been doing this for years. They can't get a deal. So the first thing I tell them is you got to change the group you're in. You got to change your surroundings. Because a lot of times when you associate yourself with people that are actually doing deals, if you ask them, how difficult is this business? They're going to say what you just said earlier. It's not that difficult, right? So you got to change the world that you're in. And that's the first step I always tell them is don't speak to them. Don't even get any advice from them. You got to talk to people that are actually doing the deals and that. But as far as your network, Mike, I do this. This is how I started as well. I went to all the REI clubs. I went to the entrepreneur networking clubs in the area. I would meet people, grab their business card, make notes in the back of the business card as to what they're looking for. Because a lot of times what would happen too is when you present a deal, they'll come to you and they'll say, you know what, this doesn't fit my criteria, but I am looking for, you know, this other type of property.
Yeah.
Business card, and that way you'll know. And you start to develop this little buyer's list without you really putting too much effort into it.
Yeah.
You know? But the point is, you have to get up and go out there. You know, you have to get up and go out there on that. Yeah. And that would be the easiest way to get started for someone that doesn't know where to start. You know, is to first of all identify what you want to do, and then go out and start networking people.
Yeah, one thing I'd encourage people to do, that people are listening to this too, in terms of networking, is to be prepared to be a connector and give back. I think a lot of people go into this one-sided, like, who can I get something from, or who can I learn from? But if you go into it truly in your heart knowing that I want to learn and then I want to connect people and share that with others. I mean, in fact, that's probably the biggest reason why I do this show is I just love to talk to people, and you'll see all the time. I mean, there's people I've connected you with, whether it's B2R or other folks, but it's very common for me to be a connector to people. I enjoy that, and I know that in the process, you know, my boat rises too in some regards. That comes back around. Karma is alive and well in this business. So.
Oh yeah, Mike. You hit it right on the nose, yeah. Definitely. And we always do that too, and I've done that in the past too, where I may not be a good fit for that particular investor, and I'll refer them to somebody in our industry. But that does come back to you. Yeah. And that person will remember you. Yeah. You know, that person will remember you saying, thanks for connecting me with so-and-so. It worked out marvelous on that. So absolutely, I completely agree with you with that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, with that said, for a lot of new people, I think that they'll find that most successful real estate investors, if you go meet them at clubs, they're willing to share more than you think. Yeah. It's kind of, your people are kind of surprised, like, well, aren't you my competitor? Like, why did you tell me that? Or why would you tell me? They're not going to tell you their best secrets, but at the beginning, you don't need to know secrets. You just need to know basics.
Right. And you know, Mike, looking back from my personal portfolio, that's exactly how I built mine is actually connecting people, and in return, they refer me to other people that who might have been interested in what I had to offer.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it came about. So I didn't do it alone. You know, I connected with the right people, and they referred me to other people, and it just kind of built that way. Now it's flourishing. Now I'm getting a lot of referrals. People are calling me and saying, hey, I'm looking for this, or hey, Fernando, I want to partner up on a certain deal. So it's amazing. Absolutely right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could share a few thoughts on, in terms of people planning for what they want to accomplish, if they have an existing job, how they kind of figure that into the mix. At some point, there's a natural breaking point where you can just focus on real estate full time. But I would say most people that are getting started or want to get started, their ultimate goal is to leave their job.
Yeah.
And maybe talk about, you know, those that go in feet first and leave their job before they've even bought a deal versus those that kind of build up some cushion and can take the leap when it's a little more comfortable.
Right. Mike, that's a great question. I'll tell you what, from my experience, and I'm guilty of this too, I think a lot of times what we do is everybody wants instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know, they want this to happen overnight, and you have to come to terms that it may take some time. That's first thing. So a lot of our investors or students that come to us they're very optimistic, which I have nothing against that, but I think their action plans, if they don't hit their action plans, they get demotivated or discouraged. A lot of times you got to tone down that action plan and just start small. Start small and just take that first step, and then from there go on to the next step. So if your action is too big, just lower it a bit on it. And that's what I did. I just started really, really small and kind of went from there.
Yeah.
You know, now we're starting to buy, you know, bigger complexes, and now we're stepping up our game on our portfolio, but it has to start small. Yeah. You know, and if you're okay with it being not overnight and just come to terms that you can do it in a couple years, and I still think real estate investing is the only path to be able to get where you want to get the quickest. You know?
Yeah.
But you just have to lower that action plan, you know. Obviously, be optimistic about it, but if you don't hit it, just tone it down a bit more and proceed with that.
Yeah. Well, and share your thoughts a little bit on kind of exit strategy. So I know you're a huge believer in the power of cash flow, as am I. A lot of real estate investors are. There's a lot of glitz and glamour, a perceived glamour in rehabbing a house and getting a big check.
Right.
In my experience, it needs to be a balance of a little bit of everything. But just talk about, for new folks that want to get started, the importance of exit strategies and having different exit strategies.
Sure. Mike, let me share a story with you. So back in 2001, I purchased two properties outside of Phoenix, Arizona. They were almost brand new, and I bought them for about $160K, roughly around there. Okay, so they were rentals. My motivation of buying those properties was to just buy and hold. They went up to they were worth about $550 back in 2007. It was insane. insane.
You bought them for 160?
About 160, 170, if I remember, around there.
Each, or that was
each?
Yeah.
Each. Yeah, they were almost brand new. They were large homes, like 2,700 square feet. And so they went up to about 550, and I got so many calls from buyers wanting to buy the properties. Agents saying, I can sell your property by tomorrow, but I just like, no. And it wasn't cash flowing that much. It was cash flowing really maybe $50 or $100 a month. The rents were about, I think, $1,150 or $1,250, roughly around there. Here's the most interesting part. So when the market collapsed, okay, the property has been down in value, obviously, to about 120,000, roughly. Okay? It was like insane. But what was interesting was that the rents only went down about $100. So the rents went down to about 900 to 1,000. There was more inventory, so as a renter in that market, you had more options. And it was a good lesson for me, because here I thought that I had all this equity in the properties, but it can be gone in just overnight, but the power of cash flow, So whether the market goes up or down, I will still cash flow in that property, which is really interesting for me to. So ever since then, my whole strategy for me was obviously cash flow, and we personally, myself, we buy in markets, that would be my wife and I, we buy in markets that are more linear markets. Appreciation is almost non-existent, but the cash flow is always there.
Yeah.
So I don't as an investor myself, I don't purchase for appreciation. We just purchase strictly for cash flow.
Yeah. And I think another lesson in there, the way that I've traditionally always thought about rentals or my rental properties is I'm never going to sell any of them. Like, why would I ever sell them? I'm never worried about that. And that's okay. But I think there are times when it's okay to take something off the table too. I think a lot of buy and hold investors, which it's a great strategy for all the reasons you're saying, but I think sometimes they get hung up on, I'm not even going to consider anything else. And at the other hand, everything is for sale at the right price.
Right. No, I agree with you too on that, because there's properties that we've sold that we rolled over into other projects that made more sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So talk a little bit about the importance of kind of what you teach for cash flow, just your kind of general philosophy for those that are looking to buy and hold. Maybe there's even people that want to get started in real estate investing, and they truly just want, they just want rental properties. They don't necessarily want to leave their job. They're just using rental properties as a retirement fund, so they can leave their jobs and so they can truly retire.
Sure. I think and a lot of investors, Mike, even myself too, you come across a deal and you can make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 if you flip that property really quickly. A lot of times it's hard for us to grasp, either do I make $30,000, $40,000 overnight, or do I just hold it and make $200 or $300 cash flow? So once you if you can make a decision and look at it as, I can make $200 or $300 a month for the rest of my life, as opposed to 30 or 40 grand and make a quick flip, but then have to get up again and do it all over again. If you can kind of distinguish that, cash versus cash flow, that's what really hit home for me as an investor.
And at some point, that cash flow goes up much more than $200 a month when the house gets paid down or paid off.
Right. So for us, what we teach too is, during your wealth accumulation phase, okay, it's easier to leverage the debt responsibly. And then from there, when you get to a certain cash flow, you can start paying off the debt and you preserve all your wealth that way. That's what we teach at our company as well.
Yeah. So if folks want to learn more, I know you have you've got Cash Flow Savvy. That's more for folks that are interested in turnkey rental properties, that are looking for deals and looking for partners. And then epicrealestate.com is your coaching business. Right.
So the cashflowsavvy.com, what we do is we help busy professionals that just don't have the time to go out and find the deals and do it themselves, whether it's family, obviously, their profession. We do everything for them. So they leverage our relationships and they leverage our time, our expertise. So we do everything for them. We help them build their own real estate portfolio. That's on the cash flow savvy side.
Okay.
And then for the epic real estate side, what we do is we just help individuals that want to get started in real estate and start their own business in the real estate industry on that, whether it be wholesaling or even starting to build their own portfolio as well.
Mm-hmm.
Going to guide them through there as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll add links for both of those sites down below the video here for those that are interested. So, okay. Fernando, any kind of final comments on helping people get started and just some general advice on, getting out of the gate and getting things going?
Sure. There's a quote, Mike, that it's a Chinese proverb quote that I have up on my fridge, and it's the person that says that it cannot be done should get out of the way of the person doing it. And a lot of times, whether it be family or friends, they always hold you back on that. So don't listen to that. Stick to your plan. Write it down. And I really, really encourage everybody to go out and market yourself and build relationships on that. That's what really helped me is all the relationships that I built.
Yeah. Great. Well, hey, Fernando, thanks for sharing your insights and your information. We'll add links down below the video here for those that want to learn more, and appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right. And I'll be seeing you again soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Are you a member of flipnerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit flipnerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to flipnerd.com.